happiest moments. When I was in love, of course. And also when I gave birth to my son. And that was a wonderful moment. And also when I'm on the sea, at the side of the sea, or in nature, I'm happy with nature. Walking down the beach or something like that. Yeah, I'm always happy.
But you are a very open and optimistic person.
I don't know if I'm really optimistic. I'm a possibilist. I'm not optimist and not pessimist, but possibilist. I try to use the rooms of opportunity and the windows of opportunity. So.
So maybe you could tell us about how you grew up. You were in Berlin.
No. I grew up in the south of Germany as a daughter of a Nazi father. We were 4 children, and my personal history is not so easy because he was a Nazi and a racist, and in the year 1969 he decided to do suicide in a public way in the so-called Kirchentag. This is the day of the church, and there were 2,000 people coming, and Günter Grass, a famous poet of Germany, he gave a lecture, and then my father drank a bottle of Siankali and died. And he said, "This is because we are the victims, and in reality they were the perpetrators, you know." And this was I was 30 years old, and this was not so easy for us, and also for me. And I felt guilty because I thought I hated him, you know. He was racist, and he was also very anti-feminist, and he oppressed my mother also, and me as a daughter, I was nothing for him, yeah. And so I hated him very much, and I felt guilty because I felt free. When he died, I felt free. For that, I felt guilty. And later on, I wrote his biography in the year that was in 2006, I believe. And this was a liberation for me, you know, because I made a big research, all the documents of his life, and I also understood the motivation of such a man. And I also understood that he was a victim also in his family. It was a very cold and oppressive family, and so he got a Nazi because he had no love. He felt no love in his life, and so he's very, yeah, I felt also empathy for him, and this was the liberation, you know. This is no, he of course he is guilty as a Nazi, but he's also a victim, and I think peace work is to see all the facets of a person, and to see also the beginning of how is a person, how grew up a person, and yeah, more or less that.
So you were 13 when he committed suicide.
Mm.
Yes. And how did you learn about the suicide?
I heard it because my mother said to us, and I never saw him again. He was then under the earth. Yeah. And it was a very public event, you know. All the people, the media come to us also, and daily newspapers, the reporters, and they asked us, and it was a very big shame for us. And maybe I decided in this moment, I don't know exactly, that I would be another sort of journalist. Later on, I studied politics and in Berlin, and then I founded a daily newspaper called Taz, Alternative Newspaper. You know it, yeah. And I wanted to be another kind of journalist, and to be responsible in another way for the news I produce and we produce, and in a very reflective way, you know. And later on, I also decided to develop a sort of constructive journalism with success stories, good news, and yeah.
Yes. But then you went to Berlin, and it was also a very liberating space.
Yes, of course, yeah. And then I got also in the movement for livelihood, for the environmental movement, and also the women's movement, anti-war movement, and I'm all together, you know. I have all these themes and issues. And I try to do the links also, to organize the links between all these themes, because we have the environmental movement, and here and there is the women's movement, and so on, and people don't see the links, and I try to bring them together. Yeah.
So, but then how did ecology, the question of the ecological issues, how did it come in?
Also by my father, because this was the only good side I saw in him. He was very favored for nature. He knew all the plants and the flowers and the trees and the animals and so on. And this is the only thing I learned from him. And this was also a kind of reconciliation with him, to have this love for nature.
And you have brothers and sisters? Eh? So
yes, no, 3 brothers.
You have 3 brothers,
yeah.
You're the only daughter?
Yes. Mm.
And how did they develop?
They, in another way, of course. Yeah. 2 are doctors now, and 1 is artist. Yeah, but they are older than me, and now they are retired, more or less.
But how were they affected by your father's death?
Yeah, of course, too. It's hard to be a male and to have this father. The identification is closer. And so I wasn't the only one who had the distance and could write about it. Yeah, so I was the one who wrote the story, and they supported me, but they are not so. They say also it's not really exactly my story, and I have also other feelings and conclusions and so on.
But did they like the books that you?
Yes, yeah. And it was the book was a bestseller. You know, my only bestseller. I wrote 17 books, but this was the only bestseller. Because it's a big theme in Germany, of course. We talk a lot about Nazi history, and we have a big research about the facts, but this emotional things within the families, they are hidden. They are still secrets. So far. And for that, I think that the book was important.
But how did you decide to go to Berlin?
I want to go away from my from my town, from my village, Tübingen. That's a little town in the south, and I found it so. I can't say how exactly, but it was this was the history of my father and my family, and I want to move away. I want to fly.
It's interesting how West Berlin became a place for young people looking for their dreams.
Yeah.
So could you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was. It had the wall, and for that it was a kind of a biotope. Yeah, a social biotope, an utopian place, and also the students' movement was very strong there, and the university institutions were very infected by this, and we had also the movement of how is it called? The word occupied houses and so on, and we try to live together in another way in communities, not within families. We try to have experiences, other experiences, also free love, and so on. And this was a good time, and I think it was only possible within this city with a wall against the other world, you know.
How old were you when you went there?
18, 19, yeah. That was beginning of my studies, and yeah, 1974.
So you deliberately chose the university in Berlin?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you studied journalism?
No, never. No. Political science. And later on I founded the Taz, the newspaper, and I studied journalism in practice only.
So, well, in Germany, actually there has been a very strong peace movement.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would like to contrast that with what's happening in Japan.
Yes.
In Japan there's also a peace movement, but it is much smaller.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you think? Is it because there's this new generation that is particularly reflective, or is it built on guilt and shame?
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
yeah,
how do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just built on not exactly guilt, but they are not guilty, the young generation, but they feel responsible for their nation. Me too. And I think one thing is good in Germany, that we talk so much about the history, about Nazi regime and so on. It's very present in our brains, in our ideas, and I think this is the fruit of it, this peace movement, and also other movements, I think. They are quite strong now in Germany, and this is the fruit of talking about history.
Because if we look back on it, so there's a whole generation that lived during the times of the war, and how far each family could be divided, well, the pro and the anti-fascism. And yet, after that, then there has been this younger generation, especially, that has been so critical about this past, and also bringing in change. So I always wonder how there is this shift from one generation to the next, and how the movements for peace could be consolidated. So that, and because now everywhere in the world, because of the economic crisis, because of the difficulties in livelihood, and so we see the extreme right coming up, and then the fascism is actually gaining.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. But not in Germany. I think, we had this long debate, and now we have a a quite strong civil society. Yeah. But what was the question? The exact question? Sorry, I forgot.
The question is, how do you think that shift?
Yeah, the shift was
from one generation to the next. And how we can consolidate this change so that we can go back to fascism, or at least not the majority of the population going back to fascism.
The shift was I think in 1968, 69, the students' movement, and they felt ashamed by their parents, what they are doing in the fascism, Nazism, and they felt also ashamed and guilty because all the old elite was having jobs in the state again and so on, and there was no public conversation about that. And so this was the beginning of the talking about the history, and I think this is the very difference to other nations now, really. And how to consolidate, that's big question, difficult question. Also in Germany, this is not a stable situation, you know. For example, in Eastern Germany now, there's a very strong movement, a radical movement against the refugees and so on. And this is the fruit also from GDR, and they never talked about the history, you know. And they had also continuation between fascism and later on socialism, and the old Nazis they got jobs in the GDR, in the government, in the bureaucracy, and there was not a really open discussion about that. And they also had no experience with strangers there. And this is also a very important point. If you have experiences with so-called strangers, you will get friendly with them. You see, it's wonderful for my life also. And they never had this. And so for them, it's the Sündenbock, how's it called in moment? Just a moment, please. I got it. Just one moment. They have problems to open themselves, and so the consolidation is a everyday process. I think you have to talk and to talk again, and you have to discuss again, and you have to be honest with yourself and within your family and within your group and so on. It never ends. Civilization is a very thin thing and not stable, and we have to and that's all I can say.
But it has been 25 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
But then what has happened in these 25 years that has not really brought radical change?
For many people it brought a big change, and they are open to the world, they love to travel and so on. This is a minority, you know, but this is of course a very aggressive minority, and this is the problem. They are connected with neo-Nazis, really very aggressive and violent neo-Nazis. And also, you know, the state never had interest to be very honest that these structures are existing yet. Western Germany didn't want to see it exactly, and Eastern Germany also didn't want to. and also the police and so on. They every time they hide crimes or hate crimes and so on. Yeah. Because also they have fear that Germany's reputation is going away internationally, you know. So always they played it down.
I remember when I was in Berlin, so you took me to see an exhibition.
Yeah.
And you said that it's not enough just to look at the question about the victims.
Yeah.
We have also to look at the perpetrators.
Yes.
So could you say something more about this?
Yeah, this is very important because also in Germany there was a long history to hide I'm sorry, I don't have the word either in German. The careers, also in Germany, there was a long history to hide the careers of ex-Nazis, and so they had success also in the new state and in Eastern Germany also. And this is you have to know the truth for reconciliation. This is so important. We know as peace women, do we?
So what's interesting from what I just heard is that in West Germany, in fact, there had been movements, especially after with the 1968 movements. So there had been this element for deeper radical change.
Yes.
Because people talked and they actually tried to reconcile with their past.
Yes.
Whereas in East Germany, there was a sort of a continuation of the Nazi times with the new state that was being...
they called themselves anti-fascist and nothing else. Yeah, they didn't talk about other things.
So even if they came out with a stance of anti-fascism, because the past was not really discussed or critiqued, so in a way that continued in a different form.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's a very interesting point. But then how did you yes, so that is still back to my question of the last 25 years, in which what I heard was after there was the reunification of Germany, those who were Communist Party members in former East Germany lost their jobs, lost their careers.
Not exactly communist members, but those who were in the Stasi, in the secret police. And the secret service, they lost their job.
But even those in universities,
sometimes when not all, but sometimes yes, that's right. Yeah, that was also a sort of injustice, of course. Yeah.
And how about the socialist tradition in Germany? You have Rosa Luxemburg. You have the strong, also quite a strong communist movement. So, which could somehow be distinguished from the East German bureaucracy. Yes. So, how are the socialists now in Germany?
How? Well, they're very small and little movement, you know, and it's a sort of tragedy because we now we have this incredible inequality in the world, and there's no movement to say stop this. We can't go on with this, and they are more or less marginal now. Of course, we have the Social Democratic Party, we have the Linkspartei, the Left Party, and they also are in parliament and so on, and they have their voice, of course, but this is not a very strong movement on the streets, and also the, we need that,
Can you tell me about the other 16 books that you've written that didn't get to be bestsellers? What do you write on?
Very different themes about gender and conflict, some books, and also about terra preta, soil, pesticides, and so on. These are my favorite themes, gender and conflict on the one side, and sustainability on the other side.
And how did you become involved with PeaceWomen Across the Globe?
It was a personal involvement because I knew Maren, and I was a founder of the German Security Council, and she contacted me and told the story about the 1,000 peace women, and interesting. I was interested as a journalist, and I wrote about it, and so on and so on. And then later on, she asked me, "Oh, would you be the West European coordinator?" Oh, okay. So that was it. Yeah, but I don't coordinate so much because we have peace, more or less, in Western Germany. So I do more media work, something like that. And also the German Security Council is also a lobby for Resolution 3025 within the ministries for foreign affairs and so on. We do lobbyism there.
So tell us some of your dreams. Your dreams.
My dreams. Oh, my dreams. Yeah, maybe you heard this. You remember this song of Arundhati Roy. Another world is not only possible; she's on the way, and on a quiet day we can hear her breathing. And this is also within the peace women movement. When we are all sitting together from all over the world. So this is a moment, very moving moment, very emotional moment, because we are sitting there in peace and we understand each other so easy. And this is also a moment when we hear her breathing.
It's beautiful. And well, you played the song in the meeting.
Yeah.
So you also love music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What other things do you love?
Oh, so much. Eating, nature. Yeah, I love life. And I love people, I love animals, I love plants. Life could be so beautiful, yeah, without violence and without injustice. We could live together in this wonderful world.